You won't believe what happened on this ordinary subway ride. It changed everything in an instant. A normal evening turned unforgettable picture. This. It was just another Tuesday evening in Washington, D.C., a city where power pulses through every corridor, yet the people who keep it running are often too drained to notice. The sun had long since dipped below the horizon, casting the streets in a dull orange glow from the streetlights, their reflections shimmering in puddles left by an afternoon drizzle. The metro, Washington's labyrinth of steel and fluorescent lighting, was crammed with the usual suspects of urban life. Federal workers, their shoulders slumped under the weight of bureaucratic exhaustion, rubbed their temples as their phones buzzed incessantly with emails marked urgent. College students, their eyes glazed over from hours of lectures, slouched against the poles, their backpacks bulging with textbooks and half-finished energy drinks. Tourists, wide-eyed and disoriented, clutched crumpled maps, their fingers tracing routes they couldn't quite decipher. The air inside the train car was thick, not with the heat of bodies pressed together, but with the silence of collective detachment. No one spoke. No one even made eye contact. The only sound was the rhythmic clatter of the tracks beneath them, a mechanical lullaby that numbed the mind. And then, everything changed in the blink of an eye. A young man, no older than 22, dressed in a nondescript gray hoodie, moved with a swagger that reeked of arrogance. Without warning, he shoved an elderly black woman hard. The force of his push sent her stumbling backward, her frail frame jerking violently as she fought to regain her balance. Gasps erupted like sparks in the dry air, sharp and sudden. Her dignity, worn thin by decades of life's hardships, was stripped bare in front of dozens of strangers who suddenly found themselves unable to look away. Her handbag, a weathered leather relic that had likely carried her through years of shifts, grocery runs, and quiet moments, hit the grimy floor with a sound that wasn't loud, but echoed like a gunshot in the conscience of everyone present. In that moment, the ordinary shattered. The metro car was no longer just a metal box ferrying people from point A to point B. It became something far more profound, a mirror reflecting the worst of human nature, our apathy, our fear, our desperate hope that someone else would step in so we wouldn't have to. The energy in the train car shifted, instantly, irrevocably. It was as if the air itself had thickened, charged with an electricity that made skin prickle. People froze. Eyes darted, left, right, anywhere but directly at the scene unfolding before them. Bodies remained rooted to seats, as though bolted down by an invisible force. And the woman, Clara Williams, 72 years old, a retired nurse who had spent over 4 decades holding the hands of the dying, wiping fevered brows and whispering reassurances in the darkest hours, stood there, shaken. Her hands, wrinkled with time and tenderness, trembled as she reached for her fallen bag. But before her fingers could even graze the worn leather, the young man bent down, snatched it up, and dangled it just out of reach. His grin was a grotesque mockery of power, his posture oozing the kind of confidence that only exists when no one challenges it. The most gut-wrenching part? No one moved. No one spoke. Instead, phones came out. Like vultures descending on carrion, screens lit up across the car. Passengers who had been lost in their own worlds moments before were now wide awake, thumbs poised over record. One teenager, his face lit by the glow of his screen, adjusted his phone to landscape mode, ensuring the perfect framing. Another whispered, barely suppressing a laugh, "This is about to go viral." The laughter spread, low, nervous, devoid of any real humor. It wasn't that anyone found this funny. It was just easier to laugh than to confront the helplessness gnawing at their guts. And in that train car, the unspoken question pulsed louder than the clatter of the tracks beneath them. Why is everyone watching but no one doing a damn thing? Then, movement. Not sudden, not dramatic, but deliberate. From the far corner of the car, a woman stood. Her presence alone seemed to alter the very oxygen in the space. She was composed, her posture straight but not rigid, her expression calm. Yet something in her eyes burned, a wildfire of conviction. As she rose, her scarf slipped from her shoulder, revealing a face most Americans would recognize instantly. It was Karoline Leavitt, the White House press secretary. The woman who fielded questions from the toughest journalists in the country without breaking a sweat. The voice that delivered statements with unshakable authority. But here, there was no podium, no teleprompter. No advisors whispering in her ear. She locked eyes with the aggressor, her gaze steady, unflinching. The young man faltered, his smirk flickering like a dying light bulb. Karoline didn't shout. She didn't lunge. She simply spoke. 3 words. Give. It back, that's all. No grand speech, no theatrics, just truth, dropped like a hammer. Those 3 words shattered the scene. The man's bravado evaporated. His hand trembled, just slightly, as he relinquished the bag. The laughter died. The phones kept rolling, but now they were capturing something entirely different. Not cruelty, not cowardice, but courage. And yet the question lingered, heavy, in the air. Why did it take a famous face to remind people to act human? What happened next became internet history. Within hours, clips from the metro flooded every corner of social media. TikTok stitches, Twitter threads dissecting every frame, Reddit debates about bystander psychology, news outlets, hungry for clicks, scrambled for exclusives, their headlines blaring, "White House hero saves the day." But Karoline herself took a different path. Later that night, from her modest DC apartment, she uploaded her own video, raw, unedited, no filters, no makeup, no studio lighting, just her, face bare, voice trembling, not with fear, but with purpose. "This isn't about me," she said, her words cutting through the noise of performative praise. "It's about Clara Williams, who deserved help the moment that man touched her. It's about the 20 people who looked away, who waited until they knew it was safe to care." Her honesty stung, and it needed to. Some defended the bystanders. "We didn't want to get hurt," they claimed. "You never know what someone might do." Others weren't so forgiving. "You filmed instead of helped. That's not fear. That's apathy." Meanwhile, Clara Williams, dignified, graceful, her voice steady despite the storm, gave a single interview. Her words were quiet, but they landed like a thunderclap. "I don't need a hero. I just needed someone to remember. I'm a person." So here's where we leave the viral clips, the headlines, the hero worship behind. Because this story, it's not about a politician. It's not about social media virality. It's about us, every single one of us. It's about the times you've walked past a shouting match on the street, a woman crying on a park bench, a child being yanked too hard by an impatient parent, and said nothing. The times you told yourself, "It's not my business." The times you watched a fight unfold online, hit like, left a comment, but never stepped in. That metro car was more than a train. It was a reflection of our world, full of people who could have done something, but didn't, until a recognizable face gave them permission. Now comes the hardest question. The one that might make you squirm. If you had been on that train, what would you have done? Would you have stood up like Karoline? Or would you have reached for your phone, telling yourself you were documenting it for justice? Be honest. Because change doesn't start with viral clips. It starts with admitting the uncomfortable truth about who we are when no one's watching. Would you have stood up or kept filming? Drop your answer in the comments. We're reading every single one. And if this story made you feel something, anything, hit that subscribe button. Because the world needs more reminders that silence isn't safety, it's surrender. And we all have the power to break it.